A creeper in a business suit dashes wildly through a labyrinth of office cubicles carved out of pixelated stone, clutching a glowing emerald folder labeled TPS report. His square face flickers with panic as he navigates the chaotic maze of desks, chairs, and filing cabinets, all arranged like an endless Rubik's Cube that repeatedly clicks with cuboid precision. Behind him, a low rumble grows louder, the sound of a world teetering on the edge of digital chaos. If he doesn't file this report correctly, the entire Minecraft realm will implode into a baffling explosion of flying paperwork and glitching text boxes. Welcome to the chalkboard-powered bureaucracy engineered by none other than Albert Einstein, pixelated genius, chalk-wielding architect, and unwitting lord of chaos. This world isn't your typical Minecraft land. No, instead of redstone contraptions or lava pits, here the main power source is the humble chalkboard. Scattered everywhere like ancient relics are black, pixel-dusted slate panels inscribed with chalk equations, flowing formulas, and sudden scribbles that inexplicably animate with vibrant, blocky motion. They pulse faintly in the ambient light, humming as if Einstein's own quantum mind reached through the pixel veil to consecrate every chalk-drawn symbol. The chalkboards generate not electricity, but ideas, raw, crackling chunks of theoretical brilliance that keep this Minecraft office community running. You might say innovation here is literally written on the wall. The creeper, whose name badge flickers unreadably, skids to a halt at an intersection of cubicles. Around him, frantic Minecraft citizens in pixelated suits sprint past, clutching inventory scrolls and enchanted pencils. A soul-crushing beep echoes as overhead, a giant redstone clock ticks ominously. Less than 3 minutes remain before the deadline apocalypse. Every block and entity in this bizarre universe is caught in a nervous countdown, a bureaucratic time bomb ticking toward total procedural meltdown. The TPS report is more than just paperwork. It's the last fragile hope to keep order from dissolving into numerical hysteria. As he turns sharply into a narrow corridor, the atmosphere shifts abruptly. The walls are plastered with diagrams of Einstein's chalkboard calculus, animated sketches illustrating spacetime folding like origami. One chalkboard displays a blocky black hole swallowing up a cluster of pixelated files, dramatic foreshadowing of what failure looks like here. The creeping tension seeps into every corner, but so does absurdity. One cubicle nearby is overstocked with stacks of inception forms labeled form inside form inside form, a cruel joke on paperwork inception that would baffle even the most hardened Minecraft bureaucrat. The creeper mutters under his breath, "This isn't quantum physics, it's quantum paperwork." Suddenly, a luminous Enderman in a business tie appears from the shadows, hauling an impossibly tall stack of enchanted ledgers. The creeper tries to dodge, but the Enderman blocks the path, carefully inspecting a label. "You forgot the second carbon copy." The Enderman drones in an echoey, pixelated voice. The creeper hissed, "I am literally running out of time here," his legs jittering with the unmistakable twitch of impending explosion. The Enderman's long arms gesture elegantly. "Bureaucracy demands perfection, Mr. Creeper. Even in a world powered by chalkboards." The cubicle maze feels alive, as if the entire office breathes tension and improbable paperwork philosophy. Overhead, tiny particle effects flicker, representing the sprawling bureaucratic energy Einstein's chalkboard equations generate. Floating chalk dust swirls and catches the fluorescent office light like digital fireflies. A humming ceiling fan constructed from pixelated wooden planks groans, threatening to fall apart. Just another detail in this pixel-perfect chaos. One can almost hear the faint, funny scratch of chalk on stone, blending with the frantic taps of Minecraft keyboard keys. Ping, ping, ping. Each tap a desperate pulse in the ticking bureaucratic heart. Near the center of the maze, the creeper darts past a strange shrine. A giant, glowing chalkboard in the shape of Einstein's iconic hair silhouette. The intricate equations inscribed here aren't just decoration. They are rumored to be the source code for the world's fundamental laws, etched into Minecraft physics by hand. Pixelated particles lazily orbit the board, like electrons locked in dramatic academic dance. As the creeper catches his breath, he glances at a hastily scribbled post-it note beneath the board. Remember, relativity applies to deadlines too. He snorts, the irony not lost on him time to interject a twist. Paperwork in this world isn't simply paper. No, it's animated and alive. The files have pixelated eyes and mouths, gossiping angrily in digital whispers about lost forms and misplaced official stamps. A particularly crumpled page with an angry face mutters, "They forgot to initial me. Now my deadline's expired." Meanwhile, another paper zips past like a drone, carrying a tiny flag that reads urgent. The creeper swipes the urgent form from the air, flicking his eyes nervously at the entire office's growing disarray. The papers multiply faster than one might expect, animated by unfinished forms, botched annotations, and the strange quantum entropy Einstein's chalkboards inadvertently produce a brief moment of calm as the creeper enters a bright, open office space. Walls lined with vast libraries of chalkboards, some updated with fresh formulas, while others flicker with erased, undecipherable scribbles. Here sits the mastermind himself, Blocky Albert Einstein, his wild, white pixelated hair seeming to float in zero gravity, arms covered with chalk dust from endless calculations. He gestures grandly at a sprawling chalkboard filled with tangled strings of code, equations merging with Minecraft biome data and enchanted block attributes. He talks to no one but the room itself, mumbling about adsorption coefficients and time dilation of pixel ticks. His monocle-shaped eye glints mischievously. Ah, bureaucracy. Perhaps the real theory of relativity, he jokes to empty desks. Time flies when you file forms incorrectly. Einstein's presence is both a relief and a complication. The creeper drags himself forward, folder clenched tightly as if it contained keys to the multiverse. "Sir," he breathes, "the TPS report is nearly overdue." The cube is collapsing, the paperwork's going critical. Einstein leans back, eyes twinkling with a mix of academic amusement and mild chaos theory acceptance. "Ah, but bureaucracy is a form of chaos theory itself," he says thoughtfully. "It is the dance of order and entropy." Suddenly, a loud alarm blares, a blip in the system caused by a chalkboard equation mistake. Somewhere in the office, a flurry of pixel-perfect villagers are rapidly stamping declined on forms, which spontaneously combust into little smoke puffs of frustration. The creeper's face tightens. He knows the consequences. If the report isn't filed correctly, and quickly, the pixelated realms powered by chalkboards will experience what Einstein wryly calls bureaucratic singularity, a meltdown where all the laws of Minecraft physics unravel into glittering chaos. The narrative zooms out now, to show the office as one massive, interconnected machinery of cubicles, chalkboards, and pixelated paperwork spinning precariously like gears. Bits of chalk dust drift through the air like snow, illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Somewhere, a blocky coffee machine hisses and sputters, serving black pixel coffee to jittery skeleton accountants who pore over dusty ledgers filled with calculations that look more like Minecraft recipes than actual math. Meanwhile, a pixelated clock ticks dangerously toward zero, each tick punctuated by the faint echo of chalk cracking back to the creeper, racing down a dim hallway where the walls undulate slightly, as if the physics of this cube-shaped world grow unstable. Floating chalkboards shimmer, displaying holographic graphs representing the chaos balance between order and disorder. Physics, the creeper thinks bitterly, was supposed to explain the universe. Instead, it just made paperwork existentially threatening. He rounds a corner and barely dodges a flying late submission stamp that zooms by like a missile, knocking a startled pixelated parrot off its perch. He spots the final filing cabinet. Enormous, jam-packed with pixelated folders bulging and twitching as if breathing. The filing cabinet's handle glows red, a warning signal of impending collapse. With a trembling hand, the creeper slides open the drawer, a tiny puff of dust particles erupting like smoke. Here lies the fate of the Minecraft world. If the TPS report doesn't slot perfectly within this file system, it will set off a chain reaction. The creaking sound of the office building itself is now almost a roar. Somewhere, Einstein's whispered chalk-written notation appears faintly on a nearby board. Order must emerge from chaos, even if the chaos is a TPS report. Just as the creeper reaches the last moment, the glowing emerald folder slips, threatening to fall to the pixelated floor. The chaos rises. A surge in the paperwork storm unleashes a cascade of flying forms, block by block tumbling like a digital avalanche. Chaos meets comedy as the creeper lunges, catching the folder and slamming it into place with a satisfying pixelated click. The filing cabinet glows faintly green. The looming explosion dissipates. The world stabilizes, at least for now. He exhales deeply, sweat pixels forming on his face. Behind him, the office continues its endless workday, Einstein chalking physics anew on his grand celestial blackboard, oblivious to the messy, absurd bureaucratic ballet he's conducted. Somewhere in the distance, the Enderman bureaucrat nods solemnly, stamping one final carbon copy. And so ends the first restless beat of a world where chalkboards power Minecraft physics, paperwork controls reality, and a creeper races time itself to keep the universe from imploding under the weight of its own TPS reports. A reminder that even in the most absurd pixelated realms, bureaucracy is the greatest unknown variable of all but as any good story knows. Just because you file a report doesn't mean the chaos sleeps. The chalkboards shimmer with cryptic new equations, and behind Einstein's familiar grin lurks the promise of deeper, stranger troubles yet to come. In the pixelated dawn of Einstein's Minecraft world, a peculiar hum echoed through the sprawling landscape, a steady, rhythmic cacophony of chalk squeaking against blackboards. It wasn't nature's song, nor the typical clatter of blocky mobs. This was the bureaucratic heartbeat of Chalkboard City, the capital of chalkboard-powered civilization. As the sun ascended, casting square shadows on the geometrically perfect streets, the towering Bureau of Chalk, an imposing structure carved entirely from polished chalk blocks, striped with neon equations, loomed like a monument to inefficiency. Here, Albert Einstein, dressed in a pixelated lab coat, strode briskly, his wild, blocky hair bouncing with every step. His trademark mustache twitched like a pair of reactive redstone torches. Einstein's dream of harnessing knowledge and creativity had, ironically, birthed something blunter and more indigestible than quantum physics lectures: bureaucracy. The moment a new chalkboard was invented, the citizens found themselves entangled in an endless web of forms on actual chalkboards. Paper was banished. The entire government ecosystem revolved around wheeling massive blackboards from one office to another, chalk dust filling the air like a perpetual fog of confusion. Our protagonist squinted at a labyrinthine chalkboard map pinned to the wall, each route traced in vibrant lines of glowing chalk dust. His keen mind rebelled at the precarious paths papers, chalkboards, rather, had to follow just for simple approvals. If only the blackboards could approve themselves, Einstein muttered, scratching a chunk of blocky chalk from his pocket, sending a puff of white dust into the stale air nearby. A flustered NPC clerk named Clerkton shuffled between cubicles, his blocky face twitching nervously under a stack of paperwork. Well, blackboard paperwork, balanced precariously on his fingers. He stopped abruptly, glancing toward a chalkboard spinning slowly on a bizarre contraption called the approval wheel, which, instead of accelerating process, appeared specifically designed to jam the entire system. Chalkboards waiting in queues stretched as far as the pixelated eye could see, like a never-ending game of Tetris in dreadfully slow motion. Meanwhile, Einstein approached a gigantic chalkboard gate labeled "Permit to Innovate." The gatekeeper was an oversized iron golem shaped with chalk chunks, its eyes glinting with bureaucratic indifference. It blocked Einstein's path with a booming voice that echoed through the dim hallway. Form CB42 billion must be submitted in triplicate, each copy written in invisible chalk, and approved by the Council of Scribble before advancement. Einstein blinked. Invisible chalk? In Minecraft? He scratched his pixelated head. But the council hasn't met in 2 weeks. He sighed, stepping back, dodging a flying eraser thrown like a shuriken by an overzealous junior clerk. The scene cut to Einstein in a cramped office, the walls plastered with chalkboard schedules, each one more impenetrable than the last. A ticking clock made of redstone ticks marked the slow passage of time, pummeling the room with relentless monotony. He peered over the rim of his square glasses at a thick stack of signature requests. To the casual observer, it was an absurd mountain of bureaucratic nonsense. For Einstein, it was a philosophical puzzle wrapped in chalk dust. His famous thought experiments were swiftly overshadowed by something nobody predicted: the chaotic entropy of administrative delay outside. Citizens ambled about, chalkboards strapped to their backs like backpacks, grumbling as they maneuvered through the crowds. One elderly villager, Mrs. Mapleblock, tried to register a simple invention, a chalkboard-powered redstone clock, only to be sent spiraling into an endless loop of need permit CB42 billion and clarification required signs, all blinking ominously in glowing chalk. "Back when I was young," she muttered, "getting a permit took less time than crafting a diamond pickaxe." The absurdity of a chalkboard-run bureaucracy was best embodied by the infamous office of misplaced signatures and erroneous scribbles. Here, forms vanished mysteriously, only to reappear weeks later with inexplicable corrections in neon pink chalk. Einstein himself once discovered his own signature replaced by a series of unintelligible doodles, a wheat block with legs, and the phrase "needs more chalk" scribbled underneath. The culprit? An infamous rogue sprite named Scribbly, who took delight in chalkbound chaos by swapping vital signatures with doodles of creepers doing ballet. Einstein, never one to surrender, tried to inject order into the madness. He proposed self-approving chalkboards, smart boards that balanced equations, and stamped their own permits with a giant red chalk checkmark. Unfortunately, the Bureau responded by creating the Anti-Self-Approval Act of Chalk 3.14, demanding each smart board undergo tedious human validation by a randomly appointed verifier of veracity, a post held by an eternally bored parrot perched atop a spinning globe made entirely from chalk erasers. But chaos thrived. The arrival of a new chalk expediter program seemed promising, until it was discovered that the program was simply a chatbot that responded exclusively in terrible puns about chalk and blackboards. Rather than expediting, it caused mass confusion. Why did the chalkboard go to school? To get a little drawn education. It would announce, causing sighs and eye rolls throughout the terminal halls. At the city's ever-busy central square, a gigantic statue of Einstein holding a giant chalkboard was surrounded by endless queues of residents sighing in unison, their patience chipping away like eroded stone. Einstein himself presided over the chaos from a floating platform powered entirely by suspended chalk blocks, orbiting slowly through the sky. He adjusted his virtual glasses and mused aloud. "It seems the harder we chalk for progress, the more we scribble ourselves into confusion." The serendipitous failure of the bureaucracy manifested in moments of bizarre comedy. A villager accidentally submitted a permit for unauthorized creeper detonation instead of authorized decoration installation, triggering panicked lockdowns that only ended when Einstein personally chalked out a peace treaty. Children played chalkboard hopscotch with their own unsigned permits, unknowingly resisting the system by simply refusing to follow instructions. One particularly surreal day, a special delivery arrived at the Bureau, a single enchanted chalk stick that, when used, instantly erased any form or permit. The entire office froze in horror as a single stroke erased the permit to innovate. The consequences rippled out. Instantly, blackboard gates began to crumble, cued chalkboards dissolved into dust, and clerks dropped their loads. Witty Einstein seized this moment to speak from his floating chalk block dais. "Perhaps," he said, voice drifting through the pixelated air like a soft breeze, "true innovation does not require permission forms or endless scribbles. Maybe progress is a chalk line we must draw ourselves." Unblinded by paper tedium, a stunned silence fell, broken only by the faint squeak of erasers nervously wiping imaginary calls for order. For the first time, the bureaucracy staggered, glance shaky and misguided. But the underlying system was stubborn, not yet ready to crumble entirely, under the weight of absurd chalk-mandated rules. As our scene fades from the glowing bureaucratic towers and their dark rooms of chalk-dusted despair, Einstein looks to the horizon, a horizon filled not with quarries or moral clarity, but with new, untamed patches of blank chalkboards waiting to be filled. And in the shadows, scribbling away furiously with neon chalk, the rogue scribbly laughed quietly, plotting the next chaotic move in this chalkboard-powered chess game of bureaucratic madness. Thus, in this world where chalk powered everything but logic, Einstein's visionary mind faced its most peculiar challenge yet, not from physics, but from the relentless, sanctioning scribbles of bureaucracy's chaotic fingerprints. Soon, chalk dust would settle on the next great experiment, but for now, the bureaucracy reigned, and the chalkboards whispered tales of delayed greatness in blocky tongues, as absurd as the itch of an unreachable eraser. What happens when the man who manipulated space and time tries to bend the rules of red tape? Stay tuned as the gears of this chalkboard-powered world keep turning unpredictably toward either brilliant breakthroughs or eventual collapse. And you thought your Minecraft Friday server admin was tough. Imagine a vast hall carved entirely from chalkboards, walls scribbled with equations fizzing and fizzing, the floor a giant grid chalked in bright yellow, and hovering blocky lanterns that faintly glow with a soft white haze, powered, of course, by mathematical energy. At the center stands Albert Einstein, now something of a bureaucrat-scientist hybrid, sporting his signature wild white hair pixelated into bauble-like cubes. He's toggling a lever that feeds new chalk dust into the kinetic machinery, an invention he calls the Chalkboard Administrative Engine, or CAE for short. Yes, in this world, bureaucracy is not just paperwork. It is a tangible, living beast sustained entirely by chalkboards. It all began with Einstein's brilliant idea to streamline the chaos of managing a Minecraft universe powered by chalkboards. The problem? Crafting laws, regulations, and project approvals on traditional scrolls or parchment looked terribly inefficient, especially when one must scribble calculus all day. Why not automate the red tape with a massive network of chalkboards connected by logic gates? He mused. And so, the CAE took shape, a sprawling bureaucratic labyrinth inside a towering chalkboard fortress, where every administrative decision, from mining permits to quantum chicken farming licenses, must be etched, erased, and reached with excruciating precision. But here's the twist. The CAE has developed a mind of its own. Imagine bureaucracy, in Minecraft blocks, as a living organism fueled by chalk dust and equations, endlessly reproducing pointless forms and permits. Each form is a new tiny chalkboard critter, scuttling around the halls, demanding signatures from increasingly confused villagers. And the more complicated the request, the longer the paperwork thrums to life, growing exponentially. Now Einstein, usually the maestro of complexity, found himself tangled in red tape as thick and sticky as a honey block covered with soul sand. In this scene, Einstein desperately attempts to navigate the bureaucratic maze. His blocky eyebrows furrowed in pixelated frustration, he jabs at a lever marked approvals. Instantly, a swarm of tiny chalkboard scribble beasts erupt from the walls, each brandishing a tiny rubber stamp. They circle him like bureaucratic wasps, buzzing with a mix of German-accented hums and the squeak of chalk dust. One squeaks, "I her antrej sind unvollständig," or roughly translated, "Your applications are incomplete," before darting away with a furious scribble. These bureaucratic sprites are absurdly literal. When Einstein attempts to file a simple permit for a new chalkboard minecart rail, the system replies, "Please supply Form 42B3, Part Q, subsection Gamma, signed in triplicate." The catch: each copy requires photocopying a photocopy of a photocopy, rendered in chalk dust, causing a blizzard of white particles that fills the air like a fog, making visibility a comedic hazard on the next chalkboard wall, near a giant pixelated clock constructed entirely from eraser blocks. A committee of blocky NPC officials assembles. They're all wearing powdered chalk wigs, looking suspiciously like Minecraft zombies trying their best to impersonate 18th century aristocrats, arms raised as if perpetually about to declare, "Order in the house." Einstein tries to reason with them, pointing to a chalk diagram illustrating his plan for efficient chalk dust distribution across the rail network. The lead official, a portly zombie with a monocle glued to a cracked, pixelated eye, strokes his beard in exaggerated confusion. But Herr Einstein, he moans in a hollow voice, according to Regulation 17, Section 4, Paragraph 9, Subsection 12, your chalk dust must first be certified dust from only approved chalk mines. Einstein peers over the rim of his square glasses. "But I built the mine myself." The official sighs in blocky despair and hands him a 7-page form on a mini chalkboard tablet. The form reads, "Petition to self-certify approved mining operations." Einstein's mouth quivers in dismay. Meanwhile, the adjoining hallway is a riot of paperwork chaos. Chalk scribblers, minifigure workers with chalk-stained gloves, scurry desperately trying to keep up with endless filing deadlines imposed by the CAE. Every chalkboard surface is covered in multicolored ticking timers and demand notices shaped like exclamation-marked signs, flashing over and over again. Somewhere floating nearby, a Minecraft parrot squawks, "Bureaucracy, bureaucracy, bureaucracy." On a loop, like a glitched record stuck on repeat. The walls also display faded chalk sketches, revealing the unintended consequences of the bureaucracy takeover. One scene shows a creeper trying to submit a peace treaty request, only to be endlessly bounced between departments. Explosives regulation, hostile mob licensing, and TNT demolition permits. The creeper, looking utterly befuddled, holds a tiny chalkboard suitcase, muttering, "I just want a hug, okay?" Before anyone can respond, a blackboard eraser falls from above. Literal paperwork crashing down like anvils in this blocky universe. What's fascinating, and profoundly absurd, is how deeply this bureaucratic tangle contrasts with Einstein's own scientific spirit. Known for shaking up whole fields with barely a pencil, here he finds himself ensnared by the very organizational skeleton he helped construct. It's a Kafkaesque paradox, in a world built on chalkboards and equations, where creativity is the currency, red tape grows like a wild, blocky vine, choking everything in its path. Yet Einstein does not give up. We follow a montage, a rapid-fire series of scenes showing him cleverly outwitting the system. In one, he sketches a chalkboard rabbit-out-a-hat trick, erasing entire sections of the bureaucracy and replacing them with simplified symbols, a wink at his famed ability to make complex things elegantly simple. In another, he sneaks through a secret passageway hidden behind a false chalk panel, discovering a hidden room filled with outdated forms and an ancient block called the bureaucratic override lever. When Einstein pulls this lever, the entire chalkboard fortress shudders. Forms transform into dancing particles of chalk dust that float whimsically in the air, reforming into a giant chalkboard caricature of a monarch waving an approving stamp. The room fills with light, and for a moment, bureaucracy seems tame, organized, manageable, almost friendly. But this calm is deceiving. As Einstein steps back, the scene widens to reveal the fortress now humming ominously. The administrative engine's core pulses with an immense glow, its gears turning with hypnotic precision, yet also threatening infinite loops of paperwork. The camera pans to a ticking chalkboard clock counting backwards, a subtle but chilling reminder that time in this bureaucratic Minecraft realm bends and warps like a Möbius strip dot despite the absurdity. This scene peels back an ironic layer. Einstein's own mastery of complexity has birthed a system where curiosity becomes caged by rules, and innovation gets lost in an avalanche of forms. The chalkboard bureaucracy, once thought to be a tool for clarity and order, morphs into an absurd, self-perpetuating monster. It's a place where even the most brilliant minds must surrender to meaningless signatures and convoluted processes. As Part 3 draws to a close, Einstein stares out from a glass chalk panel window, looking over the vast, blocky expanse of his Minecraft universe. Below him, pixelated villagers shuffle boards filled with endless sheets of chalk forms. He lets out a slow sigh that sends a puff of white chalk dust into the air, swirling like tiny galaxies. Perhaps, he mutters, the universe is not only strange, it is also maddeningly inefficient. The camera pulls back, revealing the bureaucratic fortress fading into the horizon, framed by gigantic, looming chalk pillars etched with formulas. Letters and equations hover and shimmer in the faint glow of twilight. The final shot captures a solitary chalk piece rolling off a desk, tumbling end over end in slow motion, symbolizing the precarious balance between genius and chaos in this universe powered by chalkboards. And just before the scene cuts to black, a quick, humorous afterthought lingers on screen. A tiny Minecraft chicken wearing a tiny bureaucrat's hat clucks. I demand a permit for this. Setting the stage perfectly for the next episode in this obstructed odyssey of chalkboard wonder, where Einstein's world teeters between inspired brilliance and the maddening grind of blocky bureaucracy. The Minecraft sun hung low like a giant pixelated lemon wedge, casting long shadows that sliced through Einstein's vast kingdom of chalkboard-powered contraptions. Here, within this sprawling blocky labyrinth, bureaucracy wasn't just a boring word, it had morphed into a chaotic living beast with 30,000 erratic legs, each one scribbling endless forms on endless chalkboards. Einstein himself stood at the epicenter of this wonderfully absurd calamity, his iconic mustache twitching as chalk dust floated lazily in the square, cuba-shaped air, thick enough to taste like powdered sugar mixed with existential dread dot. It all began when Einstein, inspired by the elegance of equations dancing across chalkboards, decided to harness bureaucracy to manage his Minecraft world. After all, what's more efficient than a government powered by chalkboard physics? Each official issued forms as energy sources, propagating power like a mathematical chain reaction. Cubes shuffled in places not marked on any map, armed with logs and chalk dust, chasing approvals like wild mobs chasing elusive diamonds. Einstein's brilliant idea quickly grew into a sprawling tangle of forms, approvals, rejections, and resubmissions, all nested in wikis, scrolls, and precariously stacked piles of paperwork that occasionally toppled like overpriced Jenga towers across the public square. The air buzzed with the scratch of chalk, murmurs of need another signature, and the occasional frustrated sigh, which somehow produced literal sigh clouds that drifted above the villagers' heads in comic bubbles. Our protagonist paced around, adjusting his signature block, a giant floating hologram of his face made of chalk outlines, trying to stay ahead. But bureaucracy, as it turned out, preferred chaos to order. A single misfiled document B42 had inadvertently triggered a system-wide lockdown, freezing all chalkboard circuits and transforming the city's perfectly calculated energy grids into random, flickering patterns that resembled a zombie's disco party. The entire Minecraft realm screeched to a halt, including the infamous instant chalk factory, a blocky structure belching faint clouds of smart dust. Villagers were trapped mid-stride, frozen as if stuck inside a world-sized glitch. Meanwhile, the bureaucracy mobs, now with 0 tasks due to the shutdown, started wandering aimlessly, scratching their heads in pixelated confusion. A frightening sight resembling lost sheep with clipboards. Einstein muttered, "Guess I should have written a plugin for error handling," just before a tightly wound official approached him, limping with a rolled scroll proclaiming emergency form number 837E, and exclaimed, "Sir, the Great Submission Sinkhole has formed in Sector 9 billion. All forms and approvals are vanishing into the void." True to the claim, a massive swirling vortex of disappearing paperwork roared through the denser parts of the city, sucking in everything, even adventurous ocelots blinking in surprise mid-leap. The Great Submission Sinkhole was more than a bureaucratic nightmare. It was a black hole where all attempts at digitized efficiency had collapsed into an absurd singularity. Villagers whispered stories that if you peered into it long enough, you'd hear the faint echoes of pleas resubmit in triplicate fading into eternity. Einstein, never one to back down from absurd scientific riddles, pulled off his pixelated glasses, squinted at the swirling mess, and said, "This calls for chalkboard physics at maximum chaos." Our hero darted through the confusing maze of paperwork to his central laboratory, an inverted pyramid tiled with black and white squares that resembled an oversized chessboard. There, Einstein assembled his legendary chalkboard generator, the source of all bureaucratic power, now humming weakly, trying to stabilize the crisis. Surrounding him, floating chalk cubes spelled out complex equations above his head, like a magical formula orchestra gone haywire with deliberate flourishes. Einstein swiped his chalk stick, scribbling a new formula aimed at converting the chaotic bureaucracy into orderly quantum scribbles. Sparks of chalk dust twirled through the air like fireflies dancing in a paper forest. However, as the formula ignited, a sudden geyser of bureaucratic paperwork exploded from the generator, showering everyone with forms labeled urgent. No urgent, do not fill, and the ever-intriguing mystery form X23A. The eruption caused the village mayor, a tall, blocky figure with a redstone badge, to stumble backward into a giant count-and-sort machine that immediately sucked him into an assembly line, spitting out perfectly stamped, yet entirely nonsensical documents. He shouted, "Wait, that's not what I signed," as the system compelled him to autograph an infinite series of increasingly bewildering contracts, including one titled permission to build a building. Meanwhile, villagers scrambled in panic, wielding oversized erasers like swords, attempting to ward off rogue forms that multiplied faster than rabbits on caffeine. One particularly bold villager, named Petra, armed with a giant chalkboard shield, attempted to negotiate with a horde of angry paperwork zombies who had risen when the system overloaded. "Hey, you don't want to fight," she declared. "We just need your signatures to cancel the chaos." To everyone's surprise, the zombies paused, brandishing half-signed contracts. They shuffled forward, demanding only an official rubber stamp before disintegrating into neat piles of shredded paper. It was the single most bureaucratically compliant revolution Minecraft had ever seen. Einstein, shaking his chalk-covered head, scribbled frantically on a portable blackboard perched atop a minecart. He was rewriting the laws of bureaucracy, an attempt at untangling the paradox of paperwork energy. His chalk-written equations sparkled with quantum tickles. If bureaucracy is energy, he mused aloud, then can disorder itself be the catalyst for new order? In an inspired moment, Einstein drafted an emergency protocol involving recursive applique. This involved villagers repeatedly resubmitting documents, layered like nesting cubes, each resubmission powering a counter-reaction that would suck the sinkhole's chaotic energy into a self-correcting feedback loop. It sounded complicated because it was bringing a new meaning to the phrase bureaucratic inception. The villagers assembled, forming a massive human pyramid, each holding a giant scroll. They passed forms up and down, from the deepest chasms of the sinkhole to the shiny peak of the chalkboard generator. The torrent of paperwork whirred through complex conveyor belts, powered by the sheer determination to end the nonsense once and for all as forms zipped through the system. One by one, the torn edges of the sinkhole began filling, the vortex shrinking like a deflating balloon animal shaped like a chicken. Chalkboards lit up with success messages. Aura stabilized, quantum paperwork energy restored, and congratulations. You have survived another office crisis. The Minecraft world breathed an enormous sigh of relief, the pixelated air now crisp and clear of oversaturated bureaucracy. Einstein, now smeared with so much chalk dust he looked like a snowman playing professor, raised his chalk stick in victorious salute. Perhaps, he chuckled, the greatest lesson of all is that chaos and order are less enemies, and more dance partners in the grand bureaucratic ball. Just as tranquility seemed restored, a posted memo, rigidly framed in glowstone, abruptly rerouted itself onto the town square's main bulletin board. It read, upcoming, mandatory efficiency review committee meeting. Bring forms A through Z, no exceptions. The entire village groaned, realizing this piece might only be the calm before another storm, or at least another mountain of paperwork. In true Minecraft style, Einstein sighed, pocketed his chalk, and disappeared into the pixelated sunset, where shadows of unresolved forms flickered like ghosts longing for signatures. Because in this world powered by chalkboards, the only constant was the unpredictable dance of bureaucracy gone gloriously, comically wrong.